Our next speaker is Cleona Lira, who was born in India and had an interesting early career in financial services in India. She's also studied an MBA. She's produced quite a lot of content online. Conscious Money Fame, if anyone's aware of it, definitely worth subscribing to her material. Today her talk is entitled How to Enjoy Greater Freedom and Choice with Money and Life. I give you Cleona Lira. Thank you.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm really excited and a little scared because I'm talking to my peers, financial advisors. And I'm also relieved that you can't see my double chin because I'm looking upwards at you. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I'll start with a little story. I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and my neighbors in Goa, India, had invited us over for a cup of tea. Most of the neighbors around me in my village were relatively poor. So for snacks, we got boiled chickpeas and other such nutritional stuff, which I wasn't interested in at 8 years old. I knew this neighbor was pretty well off, and we would get biscuits. So we had this cup of tea, and a plate of biscuits came around. I was with my grandmother and my aunts and cousins, and I took a biscuit. The plate of biscuits came around the second time and the third time, and like an excited little puppy, I just grabbed the biscuit, where I could see the rest of my family. Some of them were saying no thank you and being really polite. The aftermath of the tea party was I got home, and then my grandmother had a little talk with me. And she said to me, "What's wrong with you? Do we not give you food at home? Why did you have to be so greedy and take the second and the third biscuit?" And in that moment, I felt so ashamed, like, gosh. The thing is, when you're a child, you're energetically open, and you say yes to biscuits because you don't have any judgments about how greedy you can be. It's the most natural thing to do, to say yes to a biscuit if you want a biscuit. And in that moment, I decided, oh, gosh, to belong in this family, to get love and acceptance, which was really important for me as a child to survive, I need to not be greedy. And in that moment, I made a decision to disown my greedy part. Cut to a few years ahead, 2013, I start my own financial advisory business, which I'm really excited about. Up until that point, I'd never really noticed any problems in my relationship with money. I worked in a bank. I was a workaholic, but I never questioned that. I worked for a few years in India, and everybody worked relatively harder compared to when I was in London and, a workaholic. And I found that I had trouble asking for money. I was really ashamed, and quite often it would take me a long time to get to what's the lowest possible price that I can charge this person and still feel good. And the thing is, there wasn't like choice about this. It wasn't like a free choice. It was a compulsion. I would charge the lowest amount, even to clients who could afford a lot of money. And then one time, like really early on in my career, I did a big mortgage for a client who bought a home in Chelsea. And the house he bought was about $5 million. And the brokerage was $11,500. And I'd only done 2 days of work, and it felt so wrong, like my whole body was uncomfortable. And I said to my husband later, who looked at me like I had 3 horns coming out of my head, "I think I'm going to give half this money back to the client because I haven't worked that hard." And he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I don't know, like it just feels weird. Like I haven't done that much of work. This is a lot of money." A few weeks later, a couple of clients asked me if I was charging them enough. And I thought, okay, that's it. Like I've got to explore this. And I didn't tell you about my background, but I graduated in psychology from the University of Goa. And so I'm quite open to psychology and learning about how my mind works and things like that. So I went to a money workshop. Oh, let me show you a picture of how I looked when I learned that it's not okay to be greedy. I used to cut my own hair. I wanted to save money. My mom was a single mother, and so I used to cut my own hair to try and save money. And I probably didn't go to the dentist as much as I should have. So in today's talk, I'm going to talk to you about how I overcame this obstacle that I had with money and pricing. And this process that I learned in this money workshop, I would highly encourage you to go to a money workshop and experience it, because money work is body work. It's not heady work, at least this process that I'm talking about. And basically, you know, when I organize, like I love to organize money workshops, get a bunch of people together and talk about money, because money is so taboo. And all of us have issues around money, you know, Donald Trump and I don't know, who's the guy who ran the Ponzi scheme, Bernie Madoff, and so like all of us have problems with money. So, okay, let me refer to my notes because I want to make sure I'm giving you value. So there are 3 key points of my talk. The first is how to identify these unhelpful stories that we have about money. They relate to certain qualities or instincts that we have. And if some of you have come across the work of Carl Jung and shadow work, it's these disowned aspects of ourselves. Like you can all see my shadow now, but I can't see it, not easily. And the clues are usually things that irritate you when you see it in other people, but you can't really see it in yourself. And it's quite unconscious. And you can disown positive aspects of yourself as well. So you're less powerful, you're less whole if you cannot accept your shadow. The second aspect is how to check if they're helpful or unhelpful, because we can tell profitable stories about money and we can tell unprofitable stories about money. And the third key point of my talk is going to be 23 minutes, okay. The third key point about my talk is going to be following the money path or following the life path. What's the difference between the two? So a lot of this content has come from attending several money workshops, and I attended them with a guy called Tim Malnick, whom I've interviewed on my Conscious Money YouTube channel, so you can find him. And he learned this whole process from a guy called Peter Koenig in Switzerland. And so Peter Koenig developed this money system. Now, why is it important to look at money? Like, well, it's kind of obvious. We're financial advisors, and we talk about money all the time. The other important aspect, of course, is that we are the source. Many of us run our own businesses, our own financial advisory businesses. And we are the source of this creative enterprise. And if we have not worked on our own shadows with money, it affects the entire business. And actually being able to work on something like money has very deep and far-reaching impact on the entire business. So that's one important factor, is that you are the source. And when the source is clear on their relationship with money, money flows more enthusiastically into the business. The second aspect, of course, is that you are a financial advisor, and your clients look up to you to be a clear guide. And the clearer that you can be, the more therapy that you can have, the better you add conflict. So that's the principle. I'm just going to drink some water. Hopefully that wasn't somebody else's glass, but who cares? I could have done the Indian thing and gone with a glass to my... Yeah, so we all have our own unique conditioning with money. You know, I'm from India. There are certain things that I saw in my childhood that I cannot unsee. For example, when I was a child. And I've seen little children, even here, look at homeless people, and I can see a puzzled look on their face. I couldn't understand why there were children my age who were walking around with no clothes, with red, malnourished hair. Like, it didn't make sense to me. And in those moments, in that conditioning, I absorbed certain stories. And one of those is that people who charge a lot of money are greedy and exploitative. It's not true, but it was my truth. Now, in order to identify where you have your shadows or stories, unhelpful stories with money, it helps to take the view that perhaps some of the stories that you're telling yourself are quite ridiculous, and just be open and skeptical to questioning them. The other clues, of course, so one of the clues to find qualities and aspects of yourself that you've disassociated from are just noticing when somebody annoys you, like somebody's arrogant or lazy or ungrateful. If you have a partner at home, they are a great source of understanding your own shadows, because you will find so many things that trigger you. And by the way, this process can be applied to anything, because you can have more freedom and choice with anything, not just with money. There's another reason why it's important to look at your relationship with money, and that's because it's the longest relationship that you will ever have. There's a psychologist, psychiatrist, not sure what he is, David Kruger, and he said that money affects you even before you're born, because it affects the nutrition that your mother has access to, the health care, the level of education that she has. And it's an important piece. A lot of people, including clients, may not want to work on their relationship with money. And fundamentally, that's fine. This is not something that can be pushed. But money is one of the last stages in your self-development work. And money mirrors to you many of your beliefs about it. Another clue to look at, where you have some stickiness around money and some stuff to work on, is to ask, what is money for me? What is money for you? Some people say freedom, security, peace, joy, suffering, trapped, anxiety. When we do a money workshop, we get so many conflicting opposites, so money is very personal. And basically, it's not about the numbers. It's not about what money is. It's about the stories that we tell ourselves about money. So money represents, for me, freedom. So it's a positive projection. I'm projecting a quality onto money. Why is it so easy to project onto money? Because it's so abstract, Nowadays, money is pixels on a screen. We don't even see it. We don't even see cash. We tap cards. It's so abstract. It's really easy to take things that we don't like, that we'd rather disassociate, and project onto money. And these identities are very powerful. 18 minutes, okay. I've always finished 10 minutes too early, so I'm trying to take my time. So there are these positive aspects of money, money is freedom, money is security, and then negative aspects. Money is evil, money is dirty. And the idea is, this is going to be a little emotionally provocative, and the money workshops are quite emotionally provocative, is I'm going to encourage you to tell lies about money, but to tell good lies, to tell a new story about money, a story that is a bit more helpful to you. So, so more about my money workshop experience. My first experience in 2016, and I've been to a few more. I've organized some for my clients, and childless women. I happen to be childless, and so we wanted to explore money. And so I turned up to this money workshop a little bit ashamed, because I'm a financial advisor, and therefore I should be good with money, but I'm so terrible with money. And Tim takes me through this reclamation process, which is to say, I am greedy, and it's okay. And I was like, no, I'm not greedy. No, I can't be greedy. I'm not a greedy, money-grabbing merchant. That's not me. And there was such a strong resistance, in my whole body about saying it. But then a big part of me also wanted to be free to charge whatever I wanted. And so I was like, okay, I'll say it. And so I said, I'm greedy and it's okay. And he was like, no, that didn't sound very convincing. Say it again and own it, own the lie. So I said it more convincingly. And then this time I had tears coming down my face. I had like a choking sensation in my neck, and just a very strong reaction in my body. So what happens when you reclaim a quality, a shadow, is somehow, and I don't really understand the science of it, but somehow your body psychically releases some energy. And then he made me say, so it's not like an affirmation that you say over and over again. And really, it's not something that you say to experience it in your head. It's something that you have to feel in your body. And I would really encourage you to go to a money workshop and try it out with a facilitator who knows what they're doing. And so the second time, I said, I want to say it again. And he said, OK, go on. So I said it again, and this time I giggled, and I laughed. And I was confused. I was like, a few seconds ago, I was getting really emotional, and now I'm like laughing hysterically. And this is what happens when people reclaim their identities, is they have like bodily reactions. I once had someone in a workshop who was very spiritual, reclaiming his capitalist parts, and he shook for about 2 minutes. His whole body just shook. So it's quite powerful. So the first part is saying, I am the thing that I don't want to be, and it's OK, and it's good. Or if you want to take it up a notch, you can say, and it's wonderful. I'm greedy, and it's wonderful. And the second half is to say whatever the opposite of that word is for you. So for me, it was, I'm ethical. Like, I'm a good person because I charge less. I was very convinced of it, you know? And so I was encouraged to say, I'm ethical with and without money. Like, the numbers have nothing to do with my ethics. So I'm ethical when I charge £5 an hour, and I'm ethical when I charge £1,600 an hour. When Tim made me say 1,600, I was like, OK, like, I don't really believe it, but I'll say it. And then there was a sort of relaxing feeling in my body. Yeah, this is true. My ethics and how good of a person I am have nothing to do with money. I'm just projecting this stuff onto money, you know, projecting it onto the numbers. So doing your detective work helps, noticing when other people irritate you or annoy you. As Carl Jung said, anything that irritates us can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. Then doing your money biography. So like, it just takes 30 minutes. You could actually do it on the way home, on the train, if you feel like it. Just remembering key events that happened in your life, like your first part-time job, or the first money that you ever spent, or just key things that, you know, starting from your childhood and going back. There was a time in my life when, 30 minutes. There was a time in my life when I was trying to be a trader, like, you know, stock trader. And I spent a lot of time on stock charts. I'm pretty good at reading, like, candlestick charts. I got quite obsessed with it. My husband's also in finance, and he loves it too, so I thought I'll have a go. But when I was young, I remember I lost some money. I went to the shop, and I lost some money, and I got a big slap across my face for losing that money. And I had so strongly internalized that I cannot lose money, which made me a terrible trader. So doing these money biographies, you know, because I would then revenge trade and try to get the money back, and that's the worst thing. You've lost control of your emotions. So doing this money biography really helps sometimes. You can connect certain things. Another thing that I connected was shame. Like there was a lot of shame, guilt about sometimes having more. We were not rich by any means. There were certainly a lot of financial struggles. My mother was a single mother, earning a school teacher's salary. And things were tough. But shame, because she sold sausages. We were in Goa, so Goa and pork sausages. She made sausages, and she made pickles. And I sold them to, like, people made orders. And my friends made fun of me, you know. The word sausages has connotations in the local language, and they would, like, pick on me and stuff. And so I would feel a little ashamed about. And that was the primary emotion that I had with money. So it would be interesting to see, you know, what is yours? A lot of people feel guilt because I suppose there's, you know, some sense of privilege that we have living in the West. So there are these 3 gestures with money that, again, you can use as clues to identify where you fit in. The first gesture is this one, which is like the greedy person pursuing. And that's when you have a really positive projection onto money. So you think, oh, money's freedom. So, you know, I'll have more freedom if I have more money, so I'll keep reaching, or security. But then if I don't have enough money to make me feel secure, then I'm insecure. So the reclamation would be, I'm secure with and without money. Like, my security has nothing to do with money. And an extreme example of a pursuer would be somebody like Bernie Madoff, you know, who's like that greedy archetype. Then you have the repeller. So when we do money workshops, people actually like have this gesture, the stop gesture, when they're talking about money. And there are people who think that money is bad, money is dirty, money is evil. I once did a money workshop. This was in Seattle in the US, and there was somebody who had spent quite a few years being homeless. And we played these games. They're called Findhorn money games, where you bring real money. Everybody's asked to bring a meaningful amount of money. And you play a round where you just take money, and you play another round where you give money. And it's just for fun. But it also helps you to get clues about your relationship with money, like unquestioned assumptions or superstitions that you have about money come up. And you can see it through this game. And he just stood there. He was like, I cannot steal. I cannot take money that's not mine. And it was so interesting, you know, this repelling thing of like, no, I will say no to money. And you find that people in this category might be in debt a lot and things like that, you know, because they have a non-profitable story about money. And then the third category is sort of this washing machine effect. So you pull, and then you also get rid of. And so these people actually have a pretty good lifestyle. They have no problems attracting money, but somehow magically they also equally get rid of it very quickly, and their bank balance is always hovering around 0 or thereabouts. They are very committed to that story of not having enough. I once met an entrepreneur who said every time she hits 5 million, she resets back to 0. So it's interesting to see where you fit in. So if you are in the repeller category or somewhere in between, like I don't think I was a repeller, but there was certainly some of that saying no, then you might want to embrace being the greedy. And so you just have to basically play with your money habits, you know? If you're the kind of person who goes to a restaurant and always picks up the bill, just do the opposite and see what happens for you, you know? You're just trying on different stories and seeing if you have more flexibility to change the view. So recently I started doing something called surge meetings, which are quite exciting. And then I again, you know, with identity and money, there are like, it's like an onion, you have to keep peeling. And there were certain stories that I was telling myself, like I must always be available to clients 12 months of the year, except for my, you know, 2-week annual leave period. And I would be so uncaring if I told my clients my diary is actually shut for these 2 months and I'm not doing meetings. And so it was helpful there, you know, to reclaim certain stories and certain identities that I had, and try on ones that gave me more freedom and more choice. I also did this with clients. So, my slide. So we overestimate the numbers, and we underestimate the effects of stories that we tell ourselves about the numbers. Yeah, so with clients, because this is quite emotionally provocative work, and I don't have a contract to be like their therapist or their counselor, I would rather tell them to go to a money workshop. So I had this client called Juliet, and we'd done, you know, she was 68, and she was getting close to retiring. She had enough money, but there were certain things that she wasn't willing to look at, like she had a car that she could easily get rid of. She lives in London, and she didn't want to. She had some life insurance that she was paying for, but she was like, I need to cancel it, but then she wouldn't do it. And I said to her, I have a membership with Money Quotient, so we did some life planning. And somewhere in the third session, I said to her, there's this money workshop, and I think it'll help you. Would you like to go? And she had crippling anxiety. Like, she's paralyzed. We did the cash flow planning. We did all the, you know, rational stuff, but she was still stuck. And honestly, she came back from this workshop, and her story was, I'm stupid. I'm stupid with money. I've made financially irresponsible decisions. I can't trust myself. And she came back and wrote me this amazing email, which I just laughed when I read, because I knew then that she would be easier to work with, because she'd looked at her money shadows, and she said, I'm stupid, and I love it. And then, you know, I'm secure with and without money, because her story she was telling herself is that she was insecure, and it depended on the numbers. So yeah. So what I would say finally, I did want to take a couple of questions actually, is try to attend a money workshop if you feel like it. And then I have lots of resources on YouTube. I have a tiny channel called Conscious Money. But there's lots of different ways to look at money. So internal family systems, nonviolent communication, family constellations. You might be drawn to one over the other. So the money path versus the life path. So the provocative suggestion that is given in these money workshops is to follow the life path, not the money path. The money path is sort of what we do as the conditionings of the Industrial Revolution. You know, you must work for money, and sometimes that means you must work hard and suffer, or do the more practical or pragmatic thing. I'm from India. A lot of Indians, we get conditioned to become, engineers and doctors, and because if you're smart, that's what you must do. And then what you really want to do might be different. So the life path is what's more natural. It's a bit like if you think of an apple tree or a cat, Like they don't have money, the tree doesn't have money, but life takes care of it. It gets enough resources to survive. The cat. Also, when you were a child and a baby, you didn't get born with a credit card. Somebody looked after you. And so the suggestion is follow the life path and trust that life will take care of you and your needs. Do what you love. And hopefully, for most of you, you love being a financial advisor. And finally, I'll leave you with, what is success to you? What is excitement to you? Don't project that onto the money or onto your profits. Connect with the qualities, that you're gunning for in your business. I hope that helped. I think I've covered all my points. Any questions? I think I have a couple of minutes. Yes.
You mentioned being from India. Do you ever deal with clients that have difficult relationships with money because of remittances, like their family are dependent on them, or they have people that are paying their university fees without me, they can't be supported, they can't survive? How would you advise them, or what type of money shadows does that fall under?
So they're sending money home to their home country? I mean, it's tricky. I'd have to talk to them and see where their edge is, because are they giving with resentment? Are they giving freely? That's also a problem, because in certain cultures like Indian cultures and other cultures, Asian cultures, we are indoctrinated with the idea that we have to take care of our family, and it's not a choiceful thing, So if it feels like a joyful thing, great, there's no problem. But if it feels like a resentful thing and I'm trapped because I have to support my family and I can't follow my life, then there's work to be done. Yeah. And yeah. Any other question? I think I have time for one more.
Did you eventually change your fee structure?
I did, yeah. I can be greedy when I want to, but that also means that if I need to do pro bono work, I can be good, yeah. Thank you for caring to ask. Thank you very much.